Hello, YouTube. This is Compound Fracture's YouTube channel. Today we have a special treat. We're trying a brand new game. This is Suzerain. It's like a political RPG kind of thing. I haven't spoiled myself at all in this one. I haven't watched any live streams. I haven't prepared myself in any way, shape, or form. So we're probably going to fail a wee bit here, but we're going to fail together and we're going to have some fun doing it. The only thing I've seen is some Steam reviews that made it seem pretty interesting, actually, the Steam product page. I think this might be up my alley. It might not at all, but we'll find this out together. So I'm just going to check the options. I think that's about right. Actually, I think I'm going to turn the master volume up slightly and the music down slightly. I think this should be good. I hope the levels are to your satisfaction. Back. Okay. So without further ado, new goddamn game, yes. Loading. You are my enslavement and my freedom. You are my flesh burning like a raw summer night. You are my country. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm impressed already. I feel a sense of gravitas. Yes, I do. This is going to be fun. I opened my eyes to this world and I came from an impoverished family. I like coming from an impoverished family. No success like success from raw roots. I'm actually going to take a second to turn down my gate here. I feel like that may have cut out some of my whispery, suspenseful talking earlier. Just one sec. Hopefully that's a bit better. You might hear some keyboard clackies because I've got a Model M keyboard. I'm that person, yes. I grew up on one and I still love them. Anyway, my parents named me Anton. As the only child of a farmer, I spent my childhood among wheat fields. Life was not easy. I was too poor to afford a good education. The Rain family was caring regardless of the economically dire situation. My parents always did their best to support me. The years passed. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. I heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced the historic revolution. The kingdom was no more. The Republic of Swordland was born. I think we need a W in this here Swordland name, but okay, sure. Well, none of these show any sort of knowledge of the situation. What do we do? I'm not too worried. I like revolution. Pretty happy about revolution. And I'm pretty happy I got the day off, so let's just go with that. It's a little bit flippant, but I like flipping things. Let's check to see if our webcam's in a good spot. I don't think it is in the best spot, so I'm going to move it over here. As we go through the game, we'll see. Maybe we'll move it a second time. After graduating, we passed the university exam with high marks. Oh, look at us. We had the opportunity to choose between several studies, and we chose... I don't like law very much, you know. I'm not one for the rules. So, economics, which I've taken a few economic courses at a local community college around here, and let me tell you, economics is a field that does not understand reality. So let's go with history. History's full of reality. During the first year, you attended a lecture with David Whiskey. He was a well-known diplomat from the foreign ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained why realpolitik is important for a successful foreign policy. He argued that a strategy based on practical and material factors would be much more successful in reaching Swordland's ambitions. I do like practicality, yes I do, so let's agree in principle, yeah. Let's do that. The soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. Oh, I do not like this at all. No, I do not. A group of students started gathering in protest. Along with your best friend, Peter Vectern, you decided we are going to protest. We must protest. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Suzerain declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. He joined the students that slowly marched towards the large group of soldiers. Suddenly, the soldiers charged. A student fell and was trampled as everybody started running away. I want to hold my ground here, but soldiers are scary, scary people, and I don't really want to end up in jail, do I? I don't know, the practical side of my brain wants to run, but the principled part wants to hold my ground. Let's run. Unlike the others, I was lucky to escape. It was a gloomy year. Oh dear. The coup split the students into two groups and caused frequent fights. Torture and imprisonment of any opposing voice became a daily routine in Dyer. He didn't want to stay idle and decided to join... Can't I join all three? I don't know. I think each of these three things is useless without the other. We need political debate for a proper student council. We need human rights-informed policy on that council. But if we must choose between these things, let's choose the path of freedom. Human rights group. The group heavily protested against the deteriorating human rights situation. We have another spammer. I will ban him very quickly. Ban. Okay, no more spammer. The group heavily protested against the deteriorating human rights situation in Swordland. I contributed in through discussions on how to protect and expand freedoms. In one of the meetings, Petter introduced me to one of his friends, Monica, who was a volunteer for the Swordish League of Women. We were immediately attracted to her intelligence. Oh, there's no option here. I love me some intelligence. The politically charged environment led me to join the socialists, of course. Who else are we going to join? The radio relayed that the communist General Rickard surrounded Suzerain and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. I just couldn't believe it. The army was fighting among themselves. Well, that's good. You can always count on the common soldier to fight for the people. Well, not always, but sometimes, and that sometimes is often very important. But for now, it's chaos. Rickard's sudden attack caused more instability in the country, but compared to the fascist Suzerain, he was a real socialist. This convinced you to participate in a support march. I was chanting, all of these are pretty good. Well, we've got something based on, I guess, the French Revolution. That's a bit of a liberal demand, although it is a revolutionary liberal demand at that time. A clear communist demand. Beautiful. And good old anti-fascism, the bedrock of any left-wing political tendency. It had better be. Let's go full communist. We were marching under the protection of Rickard's soldiers. The students opposing the coup gathered a few hundred meters in front of me. Many nationalists were among them. I knew that something was going to happen. I'm going to stay. This time I have found my backbone. I will not run away. There was a massive clash between the two sides. Soldiers began to beat the students. Tanks started rolling forward. In this chaotic moment, you saw a young girl about to be run over by a tank. Well, I have found my backbone, ladies and gentlemen, and I will run to save her. But I couldn't reach her in time. I never forgot her face. Oh dear. The clashes escalated into a full-blown civil war. The horrors made me isolate myself for a while. Monica helped me cope, and love grew between the two of us. Ooh, it's a Hollywood revolution. However, it was a difficult time for love. The chaos must end, people. The charismatic Colonel, Tarquin Soul, organized a sudden coup and brought an end to the chaos. He wrote a new constitution and restored stability. The people saw him as a savior. He formed the United Swordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate in the first ever elections. On one hand, we're a internationalist. I don't know about this nationalistic language. On the other hand, not voting is goddamn stupid, and we'd better vote for the best of all alternatives rather than not vote at all. The USP won the election by a large majority. After graduation, we kept seeing Monica and noticed her interest to marry. However, a letter arrived from the military calling us to fulfill our compulsory service. It was time to serve our national duty. Yes, it was. A devastating civil war broke out in the neighboring country, well, there's the internationalism right there, isn't there? The distinguished Major Iosef Lancia ordered us to lead our squad on a border patrol mission. It was a very cold winter night when we began marching out of the Gumrin outpost. We could see our breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source. The squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees had made it beyond the border fence. This is very choose-your-own-adventure so far. I like it. We're going to... escort them back. Does that mean, escort them back to their war-torn country? I think it does. I don't like that at all. So let's be on the side of the refugees. We are internationalists. After the patrol, Major Lancia arrived with anger and immediately relieved me of my command, calling me a disappointment. Well, I think he's a disappointment, damn it. Oh, dear. One of our squad members had reported our actions. Damn. Dirty rat. Anyway, after several months of scrubbing the floors as punishment, we're back to civilian life. Oh, dear. Myself and Monica decided to share our lives together. After receiving the blessing of her parents, well, that's very old-fashioned indeed, a ceremony was held in Whole Sword. This country does like its swords. During the same year, we worked hard to secure a high-paying job at the governing United Swordland Party. We are a bureaucrat, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be fun. It was much more difficult to start our career on a good foot because of the refugee incident. In other words, helping a poor person trying to escape from a war. Oh dear. But we still managed. Do we want power? Do we want finance? No. We want revolution. We became the foreign policy assistant to one of the most experienced members of the assembly. We worked long and hard, staying late at work, reviewing dozens of foreign policy plans. We're climbing the ladder. Seoul strengthened the Republic by removing the institutions and symbols of the former kingdom from society. Things were also looking up for the country as the massive economic boom continued. Well, that's unusual immediately following a revolution, but okay. And people were the happiest they'd been in a decade. Election time came and it was decided. President Seoul was elected once more. The preparation of the most comprehensive trade agreement from Agnolia, that's a flower, okay, sure, was occupying most of our personal time. But our significant contribution to the trade talks triggered an invitation to meet President Tarquin Seoul himself, who offered me a key position. We were to become the youngest member of Assembly. Absolutely. We want a voice. We want to be the voice of the people. As the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. We needed allies, so we brought Petter as our right-hand man. The birth of our son, Frank, provided a brief moment of joy and relief. Well, family is very important. But the people come first. Along with Petter, we have done great things to cement our position in the party. Meanwhile, at home, Monica and Frank felt our absence. At the same time, President Seoul increased his authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the party. The cracks began to show. President Seoul barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. Over the past year, people were growing discontent with corruption and the worsening quality of life. Meanwhile, Calls for a united Swordland Party Congress became louder as a leadership struggle started to brew. Interesting. I think we must join the internal opposition. It's time to bring true working-class democracy to this here revolutionary nation. We gave our support to Ewald Alfonso, a reformist and talented business magnate who was the main contender for the party leadership. They didn't check this with me first. Let's see if we can backstab this man. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one. But he didn't approach us. I see the feeling is mutual. The party Congress was nothing short of impressive. The banners of United Swordland were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. The voting for the party leadership began. Oh dear. I don't like either of these candidates. This one's very corrupt. This one is a business leader. Oh dear. We're going to have to find a way to depose them both. But let's vote for Tarquin Sol. Unfortunately, Sol lost the leadership vote. Hola, Rap 2000. Welcome to the channel. I do not speak Spanish, unfortunately. ¿Cómo estás? It's basically, how are you, isn't it? I'm doing well. This is a fun-looking game. Unfortunately, Spanish, ha ha ha. Well, I obviously got the wrong. Oh, it's Portuguese, I see. Hello, Saloba. Welcome. Unfortunately, Sol lost the leadership vote to Ewald Alfonso with a small margin. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. The systems he had established were to stay much longer. His achievements wouldn't be forgotten. Hey, by the way, guys, unfortunately, I'm a Canadian, you know. So, like, the only language that I know well enough to be sure I can recognize other than English is French. So that's my bad and my weakness. Us North Americans are rather insular. We don't know too much about the beautiful rainbow of cultures and languages around the world, and that's totally my fault. Welcome anyway. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. The systems he had established were to stay much longer. His achievements wouldn't be forgotten. I mean, I am happy that Sol was finally leaving. I don't like this new guy very much, though. But that's okay. One down, one more to backstab. A month later, our daughter was born. Monica named her Deanna. She motivated us during a tumultuous period in the party. Parlez-vous français? Oh, no. That's another funny thing about Canada, right? I studied French for, I think, like 9 or 10 years in school, but never used it in conversation. So it's in one ear and out the other. So no, je ne parle pas le français. The general elections were approaching. The United Swordland Party was under the new leadership of Edward Alfonso. I don't like this man. Let's not help him. Let's be an oppositionist to the oppositionists. We're all about splitting and sectarianism here. At least until this business leader is out of power. During the general elections, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with his secretary, diminishing their chances. The extensive privatization program proposed by Edwald Alfonso secured an election victory for the United Swordland Party. Privatization program, you say? This is terrible. This is very, very bad indeed. We must fight this. I guess we try to make it a better place. I feel like we made a bad choice when we first supported the opposition. The presidency of Edwald Alfonso saw many bold reforms, but was followed by a serious economic recession. The other parties announced their bids for the 1953 election. But the unfair system hampered all opposition efforts to win. No wonder a serious economic recession would follow privatization. That sounds very likely indeed. I don't like any of these options. This game is leading me down a path where I'm required to offer at least passive support for my class enemies. But let's keep our reputation intact. Together with Petcher, our presence in the USP grew, and I became the face of a new wing in the party. That's fantastic, people. We have done well. You effectively took over the leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. The moment to make a move had come. You blamed him for the crisis on television. Yes, it was his privatization that did it. The media backlash prompted President Alfonso to reshuffle his cabinet, but most of his inner circle abandoned him. Yes. The party eventually voted you in because of our charisma as a leader. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general election with Petcher as our running mate. I believe it is our turn. Have a good night, Saloba. Well, thank you for stopping by the channel. We'll see you later. I appreciate the kind words. After visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. We promised to enact democratic reforms. Yes, this will be a land of the people. The people are tired of empty promises. We need fundamental change in our institutions and government. A solid and transparent democracy awaits us. Thank you for the follow, Saloba. I appreciate that too. Brothers and sisters, a new constitution and a new age is upon us. And the broadcast ended there. On election day, millions went out to cast their votes. It's time to face the truth. We unlocked an achievement. I guess that's not on my stream, but trust me, we just finished the prologue. I feel accomplished already. We're going to improve our nation. We're going to spark revolution overseas, create a permanent revolution, if you will, and we will win the day. Okay, as Anton Rain, we have made many promises to the people of Swordland to gain their votes. They must be considered very carefully. Swordland's economy has been based on a planned doctrine since its formation until former President Ewald Alfonso enacted free market reforms, and we hate him for that. Now the country finds itself between two different economic systems. Well, let's complete this revolution and end the recession. Diplomacy. The intensifying rivalries between capitalist Arcasia in the west and the communist United Contana in the east is opening new diplomatic possibilities. Swordland could take steps to align itself closer to one. While we are going to align towards the east, I have a feeling, given what I've seen from this game, that perhaps the east is a wee bit undemocratic. But we can change that through the power of positive example. Yes, we can. Immigration in recent years, Bloodish, Wesneck, and Agnolian immigrants flocked to Swordland due to relaxed immigration laws enacted by Edvard Alfonso. As a result, tensions in between swords and immigrants have been increasing. We're going to keep immigration relaxed. We helped that refugee after all, and we do not regret our decision, even though it hurt our chances at power. We have also promised to focus on a certain extensive subject within our first term. The people expect us to solve the negative situations within this topic while providing an overall improvement to related policies. These are all interesting choices. So we can work on healthcare, get our life expectancy back up. That's strong. We can focus on education. The lack of schools, teachers, and even classroom equipment causes massive gaps in the previously robust system. We can focus on law and enforcement, and that is straight up no. We want freedom. We don't want no dirty cops here. ACAB, after all. Or we can protect ourselves from hostile threats, and that's very important as well. But I think we'll deal with those threats when we get to them. Education should be our top priority. Oh no, our promises will be remembered and they will have consequences. We are sure. 2 weeks have passed. And now I was about to be sworn in as the 4th president of Swordland. That was a very fast turnaround. America could learn from this example. Thousands were watching the inauguration ceremony and cheering my name. I am Anton Rain. The die was cast. And there my story began. In the distance, the Maroon Palace stood on top of the famous Hill of Pride. I have a feeling that hill is going to cometh before a fall. Heh. I had no way of knowing what future awaited me there. I looked at my family, my son and daughter. Frank and Deanna were next to Monica, my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my cabinet. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orso Hawker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. Uh-oh. That's unfortunate. The time for the oath has come. Oh, I was worried for nothing. See, I always fear justice. But that's okay. I am ready for whatever may come. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear that I will respectfully execute the office of the President of Swordland, and to the best of my ability protect and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Swordland. I may now deliver my inauguration speech. Thank you, Orso. Thank you, Mr. Hawker. My fellow swords were all very sharp people. Change and hope. You, the people, have chosen together. Oh, you, the people, have chosen. Together we will bring prosperity and reform to our nation. It is a time of hope. It is a time of change. In the past, there have been times of survival, times of conflict and economic hardship too, but whenever we stood together, we prevailed. Interesting. We do want to eliminate poverty. We also want a better constitution. If we rewrite our constitution, we might be able to enact bottom-up democracy. It might cost us some power, but we want to put the power in the hands of the people as much as possible. I question whether the game has that in mind for us when it comes to rewriting the Constitution. Now, 1929, I believe, was the first president, not the second one. The first president did offer up a planned economy, but did not offer up any sort of grassroots democracy. So, bread and butter issues versus political issues. Let's rewrite the Constitution. Change now, not in the next decade or years, today. We're not looking to the past, we're looking to the future. Hundreds of thousands cheered, they were shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility, the power, and the burden all at the same time. Oh dear. We are going to raise our fist in a show of solidarity. Triggers a huge applause. Yes, 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 we are a wonderful president. I like us already. I took a long look at the people of Swordland to burn this moment into my memory. One of the presidential guards came by to notify that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The presidential state car was a jet black Cadillac. with flags of Swordland above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding the door. Do we trust this man? He is our driver. "Hello, Mr. President," he says. Still under the effects of the speech I made, hearing my new title made me smile. We do love power, but we also love giving it away to the people. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Serge, your new driver. It's nice to meet you, Serge. It is an honor, he says. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside. I entered the car. We will be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move. On the way, Serge proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. What you about, Serge? As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thought again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly made a gesture towards the now closer palace. Isn't it a beauty? The Maroon Palace. He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded of my duty to this nation. What about the nation's duty to you, Serge? Serge, you are the nation. It's just a building, Serge. Opulence will not serve. You are right, Mr. President. I don't know much about architecture, but for me it is the most beautiful building in all of Wholesword. The car drove past the majestic gates. We shall have to melt those gates. Continued uphill to the entrance and stopped in front of the doors. Serge got out of the car and opened the door for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. Amorgna West Core. What does that mean? He referred to the famous swordish phrase from the times of the Revolution, Amorgno vescor vectern sid da. That sounds Latin, which meant morning will come, victory is close. Not sure if it's Latin at all. I really don't know languages. Okay, that means morning will come. We could be nice and say, like, see you soon or something all friendly like, or we can just repeat after him. Because I do think morning will come. So let's say it. I made my way upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marble and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their head in respect as I opened the massive doors to my new office. Well, now we have a map. Now this looks like a strategy game. Jeez. So what's the country we had the refugees come in from? I forget. I think it was Gelsland. I'm not sure, though. So, like, can we zoom out? No, we can zoom in, but we cannot zoom out. The Republic of Oh, I see. These are provinces within our republic. I understand now. So what was the country? Oh, it was Agnolia. It was the flower land. It was up here. That was where the Civil War was. It's a very small country. Okay. We have a very large country in comparison. So, we got a little exclamation mark on Wholesword. I think we should go here. Interesting, interesting. Well, let's start with reports. Logistical issues. The rising population and fast urban expansion has resulted in high levels of congestion in the city traffic. So we need better roads, or perhaps a proper public transit system. I think public transit is the way to go here. Interesting. Seems like they're talking about industrial traffic. The general staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. Branches of the armed forces were represented in the meeting. Okay. Massive security measures. I suppose that's necessary. Chief of the armed forces made a public press statement highlighting the increasing chances of military confrontation in eastern Merkoba and requested a support to strengthen the military. Well, we don't love that. We would love to arm the people and let them defend their own country. We are all about the people, after all. So what's the political situation? Petr, our good friend, arrived a couple minutes early. He's struggling to hold back a smile. We did it, Anton. We won, finally. All those games we played with the media paid off. Petr's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a dampener on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top 2 buttons of his shirt. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you? I thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. Petr, we might have to replace you after all. We are unimpressed with your eye for talent. Ugh. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't so easy on the eyes. Petr. He gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband. I'd better learn to speak here. It's important for a president. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Let's see. Oh, we do not want a fancy drink. We want a simple drink. We have work to do, Petr. It's time to be more serious. Yes, I agree. We've got things to do today. We can let loose at the ball. Let's move on with the meeting. We'll be talking about our political strategy for this term. Lucian and I had a meeting with the party and the reformists. We mostly see eye to eye, but I would want to know what you think. Yeah, let's see if I see eye to eye. I'm skeptical of you, Petr, with your casual misogyny. Patriarchy is not a value we want to maintain in this here republic. The door swung open and Lucian Galade, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen. I kind of like this guy, you know? He's graceful and he's bird-like. Birds are like dinosaurs. In fact, they are dinosaurs, and I love dinosaurs. So I'm going to call you Dinosaur. Okay. The tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn. You're exactly on time. Yes, I am, Petr. Oh, yes, Dinosaur. Dinosaur is exactly on time. Lucian then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. All right, I'm glad to see him. I like him. It is a privilege to be here, sir. He's speaking in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew my attention towards what he had to say. I get a feeling that Dinosaur in the future is going to try to take over our presidency. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to judge him too early, but I'm concerned. We will start the meeting by evaluating the current situation. The majority of the Swordish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution, but they put blame on the system for its problems. Well, I think they're right, actually. Now, the economy and the Constitution, in my mind, are one and the same. You can't really solve the one without the other. They're like love and marriage, love and marriage. Anyway, people are losing their trust in our diplomacy. This frustration even causes some to reason with figures like Bernard Circus. It is expected that we bring the change the last government did not, and we will. We will absolutely bring the change the last government did not. Franz Richter, leader of the reformists, believe that true change can only be done by transferring some of our powers to the assembly. I will move into the details of their demands shortly. Well, I do like decentralization, but I'd rather it not be in an assembly. We'll see. We need to listen to the people. Absolutely. That's exactly what we campaign for, a true change for the country to move forward. You are right, Petter. You are reestablishing my faith in you. We will need many allies against the old guards in the government. You are correct, Lucian. Mr. Richter managed to influence many members of Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in numbers. Sounds good. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Friends Richter. Interesting. Well, we could preach unity. We could try to convert him to our side, or we could kind of agree with them, but also say, no, it should be us. I think he could be an ally. He seems to want the same things we do, at least broadly, though I have a feeling we're a bit more radical than him. Dinosaur seems to agree. The reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers. I agree with that. Ensure that the Supreme Court is independent. I agree with that too. And take away their right to vote on constitutional amendments. I mean, it would be nice if the Supreme Court was elected or something and not appointed for life. I don't know how this system works, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so another difficult choice. Proper balance of power. I do like their demands for the most part. So we can either support them or listen to them or say, screw you, reformists. I don't think we're going to say screw you. We don't need to make an enemy this soon. I think we need a proper balance of power. Better not to go against the wind of change. I agree, Peter. The old guard will do their best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which would be tough to break. Interesting. The court also has an abrupt power over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. No, the court serves the people. The people do not serve the court. This is all wrong. We might have to break their power. We don't want to make enemies too fast, but this might be a necessary enemy to make. Let's break their power. Dinosaur agrees. Good job, Dinosaur. You are my friend. You may take over from us later. You may oppose us later, but for now, you're my favorite. Pieter says that we need to take away their vote in the constitutional legislation. It is absurd that an unelected branch gets to vote for bills. I agree. That's exactly what I think. That's excellent. We cannot allow obstructionists to exist. I think, unfortunately, that's true. We're going to have to come down hard against them. We will figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of 250 seats in the Assembly. That is power. Barely, but it is. However, to reform the Constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equates to 6 votes. Or we could get the people onto the streets, have them surround the palace, rewrite the Constitution by popular will. But we'll get there. After we have settled our thoughts on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get the 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft, and then the last step is to convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution. We will absolutely write a more democratic constitution with the reformists. We hope they'll be our allies in this. That's what we've been preparing internally. People elected us because of our promise for democratic reforms. The key thing here will be strengthening the power of the assembly, which we already lead by majority. Well, you're right, Dinosaur, I suppose. For now, anyway. Yes, the divisions of power need to be rebalanced for a better Swordland. According to the initial draft we made with the reformists, there are 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open for their discussion. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Absolutely, Dinosaur. That is perfect. Second, the president's absolute veto will be taken away. Yes, we do not need an absolute veto. We plan to rule through the people. We plan for the people to rule through us. That's how it's going to go. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. Interesting. I don't know if I love even a limited veto system. I mean, I suppose that might be an important compromise, because if the traditionalists manage to successfully turn our supporters into our enemies, if we don't have any form of veto, we could lose control of the popular changes we are trying to make. But we don't want absolute power. We want to put as much power as possible in the people's hands, and then never abandon the people, so they will never abandon us. I'm not sure. I think we'll go with it for now. Dinosaur nods. We will form a reform committee together with all parties and start reaching out to the stakeholders in the Assembly and Court for a new constitution. More information about the request of each parties, you say, and reform contents will be available later this year. Another important point, we must be aware about the Lotharberg Group. The oligarchs convene under this group to influence economic policies. We will break them up piece by piece and secure our future on their gravestones. We don't like oligarchs, is what I'm saying. You know, it's freedom for all, except for all who exploit. All who exploit can know what to do with themselves. Let's just say that. We're going to try not to be too violent in this here stream, although violence is occasionally necessary when it comes to oligarchs. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. They will surely try to bribe us for their special economic interests. We will not take any bribes. No way. It won't happen. We oppose them. Fundamentally and principally, we oppose them. As far as I know, Simon Hall has ties to this group, and we may try using his influence if we deem it necessary. Interesting. Who was Simon Hall again? Can we click this? Yes, we can. Minister of the Economy, Commerce, and Energy. He's a former chairman of the central bank. Oof. Gross. Okay. That group is dependent on our economic policies, can't move a finger without us. Yes. Yeah, Petra, I wouldn't be optimistic either. That's not a case of optimism. I suppose so, Dinosaur. I suppose we should be a little bit more careful and choose our battles more wisely. We do not want to be assassinated, after all. Okay. Perhaps I've learned my first lesson in humility. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, he says. Well, I don't love the way that went. We have an update, eh? Oh, there's newspapers. Interesting. Committee for Reforms. Yes, that's excellent. We have spoke about change and hope. Yes, we did. We only got 37% of the general vote. Oh dear. A bill to change the criteria for the allocation of public funds. Okay. Who's Albin Calvin again? Do we know? He's the leader of the progressive faction of the party, so he's that reformist. Sure, okay. An increase of about 28 million SR to the governing United Socialist Party, which will benefit most. Interesting. Well, we've got a football league. The National Front Party must be defeated without mercy. The Workers' Party of Bludia and the Communist Party of Swordland failed to pass the 10% election threshold. We will work with them and make them more powerful, although we kind of do want to hold on to our presidency, just because we think we can be the best possible lever for the people to exercise. Besides, if we move to the left, we can outflank both of these groups. They are not as popular as us, and they will fade into irrelevancy soon. But until then, they can be allies. So that's the, let's see. The NFP is the National Front Party. The PFJ Party is the Liberal Social Democratic Party. And I believe this is the one that they've called reformists, I suppose. Yes, reformist faction of the Grand Assembly. So these liberal social democrats here are the ones that we're working with to try to rewrite the Constitution. So we'll have to be aware of that. They probably won't support our most radical proposals. How many times will people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Seoul, who reportedly saved the country. Is this the voice of the unheard, you say? Oof. Okay. Interesting. Well, they want to defeat us. Economics. This would be the publication of the right, I'm assuming. Interesting. Mega infrastructure. I like that. And Solonomics. Yes, yes, yes. This is becoming less of a narrative RPG and more of a strategy game as we go. So let's try to remember that we must be strategic as well as principled. One more meeting. Oh, no. Interesting. Public opinion report, eh? People's views on the need for democratic reform have changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the Liberal Soc Dem party there have resulted in a massive increase in the demands for democratic reforms. Sure. Media strategy. Let's do it. Dinosaur and Pietra will help us. Let's begin, shall we? First of all, Lucian, you mentioned that Marcel Coranti contacted me. Who is he again? Oh, yes, he is the businessman. Oof. Oh, dear. Okay. The Corantis have always been known as one of the richest and most influential families. He is the oldest son of Conrath Coranti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, that is our party, isn't it? No, it is a massive corporation. It is very different from our party. Oh dear. The richest of the rich, is he? He has offered to meet with us. Interesting. What does he want? That's an important question. Well, after passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration. Oh dear, he wants us to be corrupt. They own Swordland today. Oh man, he is powerful. He could bring us down, perhaps. It'd be wise to have them by our side. Okay. What does this entail? Okay, we will meet with him. We may have our men assassinate him while he is meeting with us, though that might set a bad precedent for future meetings, so perhaps that would be a bit hasty. I believe we should nationalize this corporation. Dinosaur's right. We need to determine our general approach. Influencing it versus keeping it independent. There's an interesting sort of step being missed here. We want media to be independent, but we want it to be a different type of independent in a different set of hands. We do not want it controlled by the richest man in the country. That's a bad idea for us. We want to disempower rich men. So I don't like either of these options. I wish there was a plan C. But I suppose we must use it because we don't want to allow the rich to tarnish the people's understanding of our policies. Dinosaur, dinosaur, dinosaur. He is really being caught up in this idea that the normal citizen is not worthy of being trusted. It sounds harsh. He is right. Knocks, eh? Please come in. My new secretary, okay. I suppose this is the secretary that Pieter hired because of her looks. Oh dear, that was a sneeze. Wonder if my noise gate gated it. Probably not. I need a mute button on my keyboard. Don't have one. Okay. She says, "Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galande's secretary has been calling me and wanted me to relay a message." Mr. Galande was the rich guy, right? Oh no, that's Dinosaur, of course. Who's right here. Interesting. Marcel Coronati, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Dinosaur. Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to? I think I'll talk to him. I want to threaten him myself. This conversation could mean everything. A cold greeting. We should use his first name to give as little respect as possible, while still sounding familial. Okay, he was elected to be the CEO. His strategy in the running of the conglomerate will be different from his father's approach. This is why he's offering a partnership deal regarding our media branch. We would like to formally invite you to my resort. Oh no. I don't love this. What does that entail? Our future as partners, Mr. President. Sir, surely we can't talk about the details on the phone. I just wish to have a face-to-face conversation. I will send you the details through my secretary. This is an interesting choice. This will determine the way we relate to our capitalist class. We could either completely refuse to deal with them, which would be a very legitimate choice. It would be risky. It would risk open rebellion. It would risk assassination. It would risk all sorts of trouble. It would probably provoke a flight of capital, destroying our economy. On the other hand, we could attempt to string them along, play them like marionettes, and hope that we can disempower them bit by bit. I suppose there's nothing wrong with meeting. We'll do it. We will do a meeting. We probably won't go along with the proposal, but I still don't want to call him by an official title. I'll just say goodbye. Next month. Okay, dinosaur, we'll do it. Looks like we ran out of time for today. Okay. I'll see you soon. Okay, that was a meeting or two. I think we're doing okay so far. We haven't been killed yet, and that's a pretty good start, you know? Like, politics is dangerous. And we're making a lot of very powerful enemies, surely, with our reform-minded approach. However, we have now gotten 1 hour into this here stream, judging by my little clock over there. We'll be continuing in just a minute, but I gotta say goodbye to the YouTube audience for an episode. So goodbye, YouTube audience, for an episode. Episode 2 will be up very, 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 very soon. We'll see you then.